everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trader Talks. And today we are going to talk about Microsoft, which is on a lot of people's radars at the moment as potentially being undervalued. There are, of course, people that believe the share price will continue to go lower, but I want to hear what you think. Do you think there's a little bit of value here now, or do you think there is more downside to come? Remember, the link is in the bio if you want to check out the YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast. And do remember that this presentation is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as investment advice, personal recommendation, or an offer op or solicitation to buy or sell any financial instruments. Now, let's talk about what has happened quickly. I'm just going to bring in the chart here. You can see we're down quite significantly from our all-time high that we had last July, and at its worst was down over 30%. We're roughly down about 29-30% now, and it's trading at levels not seen since April last year. A lot of stocks since those April lows that we had post tariffs and all of that kind of thing, Liberation Day, really did rally. And Microsoft did the same from the lows up to the high. It went 61%. However, since then, it has been going lower and lower and lower. And the most recent earnings report, which beat expectations on both revenue and earnings per share, led to the share price moving lower. There was dovish guidance, obviously, about the future, and also Capex worries as well, which we've seen a bit of a worry for those big tech companies. Down at the bottom of this slide, you can see the Mag 7 in 2026. Every single one of them is down. Nvidia, only 2%, same as Alphabet. Meta, down just 3%. But Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, and Amazon, they're all struggling a lot more. If we think about whether there is value here, the trailing PE ratio is about 25.1, which is significantly lower than its 5-year average of 33.2. And Microsoft cloud revenue topped 50 billion for the first time ever, and it also generated nearly 90 billion in free cash flow just over the last 12 months. So it makes the question, I suppose, intriguing about whether there is an opportunity here. And it's also on some key technical levels, which we'll look at in a moment. But I want to know, do you think that this is a good opportunity? Is it one where you might start averaging into a position, or you believe the low is in? Or do you actually think that the general market, we're seeing a change, we're seeing increased breadth, we're seeing moves into other stocks, and that is going to continue as well? It is worth saying that the company spent 37.5 billion in one quarter on AI infrastructure, and obviously investors are really going to are worrying about that return on investment. Let's have a quick look at the chart. And I did a webinar recently when price was trading about 469 heading into that earnings, and I was saying, well, depending on the earnings, we're either going to push back to 500 and we'll start talking about all-time highs again, and we would have seen a move like this, or we see a move exactly like what we've done now, where price moves down, retests, goes to the lows at 400, which is obviously a very key technical level, which I'm highlighting now on the YouTube. Again, the link is in the bio if you want to check it. So that move is complete. So if people were short from, say, 490 or the double top, whatever, really nice place to have taken some profit here. What is really interesting to me is the 200-day moving, 200-week moving average. It's a weekly chart. And okay, it wasn't perfect back in April last year, but it came very close before reversing. Then in late 2022, early 2023, it hit it twice perfectly to the tick before rallying a significant amount. So I do wonder, with this area of support and the 200-week moving average, whether an opportunity comes in for people here. Now, with these moves, if we are to come down, let me just re-add that moving average. You want to think about what the sort of the reward of these things are, whether it makes sense to hold it, and naturally for a sort of medium to longer term investor, a target would be back to those all-time highs. Now, if it hits that 200-week moving average and does what it's done the last 3 times it's gone near there, you're looking at about a 50% return, which is obviously pretty good, quite tempting. And in truth, if it goes much below that area, the 200-week moving average, probably don't really want to stay in this trade too much. So the risk is, maybe stops below sort of 325. I think traders, investors would be thinking, and the reward outweighs that. So interesting area, literally where we're trading now. I mean, for those that don't want to, and it's not necessarily catching a falling knife, but don't really want to be involved in and around these lows. They'd rather wait for a little bit more confirmation. It could be one of two things. It could be waiting for a price to come back to the 200-week moving average, get back above, say, 382 before looking to ride that higher. Now, of course, there are some key resistance levels to be aware of, and most notably, the key sort of zone that broke around 458, 460. That would be a first target. And then really, you'd imagine we can sort of push back up to sort of 513 in the all-time high. So there would, of course, be some hurdles along the way for this move. Let's also now focus on what could happen if it does continue to go lower, because, of course, that is something to consider. The low of last year, the lows of sort of mid-2023 and the previous all-time high are all worth keeping a watch on here. So where do they come into play? Let's mark those up as well, because, of course, some people may well still be short. You'd be identifying the lows around sort of 350, 345. You'd also be thinking about some of these areas in and around here, 312 as well. So the levels have been fairly well respected for sure. I would be keeping a very close watch on that 200-week moving average, most notably because of what has happened the last sort of few times we've come into that area, late 2022, early 2023, the April lows from last year. What happens in and around here? Maybe you want to see the price action, favor the trade to the upside, because, of course, if it breaks down and the general market continues to maybe look a little bit toppy, tech comes under more pressure, Microsoft is going to struggle to find a bottom here. And you might want a little bit more confirmation. But in terms of starting to average into a position, I do wonder whether it's going to tempt some people back towards those highs. Let me know in the chat what you think. Let me know as well what market you would like me to do next. Until then, take care. I'll see you later.